open the sports page with the Orlando Sentinel and FM 96.9 The Game's Mike the Bulldog Bianchi.
On JRR.
From 33 yards. You miss it, and the Irish have hope. It's good. And Ohio State, national champions. The longest, toughest postseason climb in the history of the sport. And after all that, it's Ohio State together at the mountaintop. Champions of college football.
34-23, the final from Atlanta. Ohio State college football champions for the first time in 10 years, dog. And it was kind of out of reach until it got interesting late in the game.
Yeah, Notre Dame made Ohio State sweat a little bit at the end, as you just mentioned, but Ohio State did clinch it when Will Howard dropped back and threw a perfect pass to Jeremiah Smith, 56 yards. That set up the game-clinching field goal. Ohio State was up 31-7, though, midway through the third quarter. And that's when the Bulldog went to bed, quite frankly.
I did the same thing. I can't believe you said that. I looked and said, there's no way this is going to come back. Turn it off.
But they did. The Irish did make a game of it. But you look at the stats. I mean, Ohio State was just a better team. They outgained Notre Dame 445-308. Will Howard completed his first 13 passes, never really got stopped. Ohio State punted just one time in the game. And you look at what Ohio State did in these playoffs, man. They blew out Tennessee. They blew out Oregon. They beat Texas by 2 touchdowns. They dominated Notre Dame last night. They won every game in the playoffs by at least double digits. Their average margin of victory was about 18 points throughout the playoffs. And who would have ever thought this was possible 6 or 7 weeks ago when they lost to Michigan 13-10, and the crazy Ohio State fans wanted to fire Ryan Day. I mean,
that was the first question I asked this morning coming out of that last call. I said, so any Ohio State fans, you still want Ryan Day fired at this point?
Yeah, I mean, those fans are insane. Ryan Day is 70-10 as the head coach. He has the third highest winning percentage in history of any coach who's coached 50 games. He's right behind Newt Rockne, okay, as far as winning percentage goes. So, yeah. Those Ohio State fans are crazier than SEC fans. And speaking of that, Big Ten has now won 2 straight national titles. They won it last night in Atlanta in the heart of SEC country. The SEC was left out of the college football championship game for the second straight season. Has the Big Ten supplanted the SEC in football dominance?
It sounds like our Cub reporter has a column on his mind.
Just a question. I'm just asking. And by the way, Ohio State has the most expensive roster in college football. Reportedly, they've spent upwards of $20 million of pay-for-play money. I don't call it NIL. Pay-for-play money on this team. So they essentially bought themselves a national championship. Does that cheapen it at all, in your opinion?
This is the same opportunity that every team can do.
Win's a win. And wait, when did this whole pay for play start instead of NIL?
About 30 years ago.
No. When did his little saying? Because I remember as of a week ago, you were saying NIL.
Yeah, but you know what? It's not NIL. I get tired of hearing it and reading it. It's pay for play. These guys are making salary. So whatever. By the way, Ohio State and Texas are sort of the co-favorites heading in the next season, according to the odds makers, to win the national title. You got Texas at the top, right behind them is Ohio State, then Georgia, Oregon, Penn State, Alabama, Notre Dame, Tennessee, LSU at the top.
Hey, doing a little, at this point, Tuesday morning quarterbacking, would it have been smarter to schedule that game Friday night?
Ooh.
I think so.
They wouldn't have had any competition there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to move the season up a week or two and try to get this done before the NFL playoffs start. So, because again, everything got lost in the NFL. I mean, yesterday, everybody was talking about the NFL playoff games. The college football championship game was sort of an afterthought.
Yeah.
I think they need to do something to sort of tweak this to get it away from the NFL playoffs, or at least as best they can get it away from the NFL playoffs. What do you guys think?
I at least in this case, I think with yesterday being the MLK holiday, the inauguration, everything that's going on in the news, you said it got buried with everything. And had you had that Friday night, and then you would have had it Friday night, they would have had the spotlight to themselves. You had your NFL playoff games on, Saturday and Sunday. And then, yesterday could have been just the holiday.
Yeah, exactly. I think the holiday, and I think even the holiday was kind of overshadowed. The one thing that I realized that kind of really hurts is, guys, that was a national championship, which means
football season, college football season's over.
That's done, and you know what that means around the corner. I don't even want to say these forbidden words, but the other one's going to end soon.
Yeah. Oh, the NFL, yeah. But the NFL never ends. It's a never-ending attention magnet. In fact, speaking of the NFL yesterday, the Bears hired Meathead's offensive coordinator Ben Johnson as their new head coach. So Ben Johnson leaving the Lions to take over the Bears as the head coach. That's a big loss for Dan Campbell and his staff of the Lions. I mean, that offense has been unbelievable over the last 2 or 3 years since Ben Johnson took over the offense. So
it's not as big of a loss as Saturday was. That was shocking.
I've still, my jaw hit the ground with that one, man.
That was the Commanders. Jay Daniels is the real deal.
He is. So. He really is. It looked great. Yeah. So good for him, man. Good for the Commanders and their fans as well. They've been through the ringer for a while now, so
No question. By the way, I need to ask you guys a question. So they had the Arnold Palmer Invitational Media Day yesterday. And they had Scotty Scheffler, the defending champion, the chef. They had him on a Zoom call with members of the local media. I asked him a question, and he kind of looked at me like I was crazy.
What'd you ask him?
I asked him, I said, in a weird way, was getting arrested last year the best thing that could have happened to your reputation and your brand? And he looked at me like, what are you talking about? I think it was, though. I think when he got arrested last year, he went from...
For putting a name with a face in that regard, if that's where you're coming from, perhaps to people who aren't, all tuned into golf, Bulldog, but I think he might have taken that as a bit of an insult.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. But before that, before he got arrested, he was sort of just, hey, he was a good, great golfer, but sort of boring. I think that gave him...
I think that's an insult, like Pat's saying. I mean, I agree that made him a little more well-known, and he wasn't just
Plus, everybody was on his side. They thought, the Louisville police was wrong on that.
He wasn't like the wimpy world champion. He was, I get that, but dude, you can't ask him that.
Oh, boy.
Why not?
He did. Hey, Bulldog, are the Magic going to be able to get off this skid they're on right now? They've lost 3 in a row. They're on the road in Toronto tonight at 7:30. I'm
declaring tonight a must-win for the Magic. It's a must-win. Toronto's pitiful. The Magic have lost 3 in a row. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They can't shoot. Their defense is showing cracks. They need to win tonight. They're
turning it around. I can tell you a little behind-the-scenes stuff. They're turning it around because the signs are back out.
Bob found his Magic signs in the garage cleaning out over the weekend. Lightning lose. Speaking of Toronto, lose in Toronto 5-3 last night.
There you have it.
All right. Mike the Bulldog Bianchi, always plenty to talk about on his show. Open mic over on AM 740 and FM 96.9 The Game. And we are much appreciative of the dog giving up his time to bring us the sports page each morning here on JRR.
Lynch and Taco on demand. Download the iHeartRadio app and listen anytime, anywhere.
This is JRR.